So yesterday, a couple of tweets started to go viral on X, and they were actually kickstarted by a post to the Xbox subreddit where somebody posted this. My local Target is getting rid of their entire Xbox section. The electronics manager says they will no longer carry systems, games, or accessories. He also said all Targets in Kansas City area are purging their Xbox stock as well. Dun, dun, dun. And this started going around because people were like, oh my God, it's happening. Oh my God, it's happening. And funnily enough, there are a couple of interesting little tidbits. So like Destin, friend of the channel, said that he called his local Target to ask if they were pulling or discontinuing Xbox stock. The person working there told him, there's quote, there's nothing in our system showing anything being discontinued, but we also haven't had a shipment in about a week. It says we have the next one on October 19th, but just for one, presumably console. Nothing is saying discontinued. So they're only going to order one. There's also a post from this gamer article that uses a picture that isn't the original picture shared on the subreddit, and their community noting it, saying that this picture is from 2023, which is true, but that's not the picture that was in the original like Reddit post. But basically it seems like at least some stores are choosing to remove the Xbox demo areas or shelving units, and they're replacing them with something else. So there's that. An article was then written by the one and only Michael Hogland with contributions from Jez Corden, published 15 hours ago, clarifying no, Target and Walmart are not removing Xbox products from their stores as Xbox misinformation reaches new levels. And basically what happens is you can see, we also spoke to a Target employee on our end that also discredited claims of a wider Xbox removal. Sure enough, everything was there except for the consoles themselves. And they kind of continue on. But basically what they did is they investigated by also calling stores, by contacting Xbox, by contacting everybody involved with it. And they have said, as you can see, Target and Walmart, among other retailers, remain committed partners for Xbox consoles, accessories, and games. And so they're like, no, it's not being discontinued across the board. Maybe some stores are removing it, but that's maybe a store-by-store decision. Maybe they're renovating. Maybe they have to get new shelving installed. Who knows why they're getting rid of it, but maybe it's some stores. It's not like a company-wide thing to remove Xbox sections. But I think all this kind of is missing the forest for the trees. The fact that, for one, this is so believable is already bad, because if you heard that, hey, they're removing the PlayStation section in these stores, you'd be stunned. You'd be like, what? That doesn't make any damn sense. But for Xbox, everybody's like, yep, totally see that coming. Because the brand perception right now, the brand reputation is abysmal. It's abysmal. They also did it at Costco, you're right, and it's verified at Costco. You can no longer buy an Xbox through Costco. They don't want to stock it for one reason or another. Maybe they think they just can't sell through the inventory. Maybe the inventory moves too slowly. Maybe the discount they're getting and their margins on it so low that they don't want to bother with it. Whatever the reason may be, Costco stopped selling it. So it's believable. Also, it feels like the defense has not been that compelling. So, you know, these posts are being shown. Some employees are saying, hey, stuff is being removed. Others are saying, no, it's not being removed, or we're not discontinuing it. We're just only getting one unit every few weeks or every couple of weeks. You know, like it's not that compelling. It's like, yeah, it's not discontinued. We just get basically no inventory and it just sits collecting dust. It's like, okay, still not great, you know, not great. But again, just the fact that this is so believable, I think sends a stronger message than if an individual story happened to be accurate. Because the fact that the broader gaming community, and even on the Xbox subreddit, this post is getting thousands of upvotes and everything, I think it signals that the current state of morale is not great. Microsoft has disputed this, reported first on Windows Central. Microsoft has provided forcefully on the weekend again the following: Target and Walmart, among other retailers, remain committed partners for Xbox consoles, accessories, and games. And it's just, again, if you have to come out and say this, you're already losing the battle. So I'm glad they corrected it, and they're saying, no, it's not being discontinued and dropping support across the board. But it's just, again, it's a reflection of the current state of the brand, which has been managed very poorly. I think Phil means well. I think Phil's hand is being forced in large part by Satya Nadella and by Amy Wood. I think it's Amy Wood. the CFO of Microsoft. I think he is doing whatever he's been commanded to do from on high in the executive suite. They're forcing increased margins and layoffs. I don't think I don't think any of that stuff is his idea necessarily, especially when you listen to interviews from Mrs. Wood and some of the stuff that she describes as CFO of Microsoft. It seems like there are commands coming from on high that they need to get this done. And frankly, if Phil doesn't do the layoffs, if Phil doesn't do the price hikes, if Phil doesn't do this and that, they'll just fire him and they'll put Sarah Bond in his place. And she is, as far as I can tell, the quintessential corporate executive, and she will do exactly what they ask of her. So Phil's hand is kind of forced. And then we end up where we are now, where I think a lot of responsibility lies on Phil's lap is in the horrendous communication that's happened with the Xbox side of things. There is so much misinformation that goes around constantly, Exhibit A. There's so much lack of clarity, and people still don't know clear details on like, so is there going to be a next gen of Xbox hardware? Oh, there is. Okay, that's surprising. Are you going to be including Call of Duty in Game Pass for years to come, or just this year? Was that an experiment or was it not? Like, there's just no clear vision for Microsoft's version of Xbox, and there hasn't been for a very, very long time. And that's a problem. I feel like back in 2020, people understood the pitch of Game Pass as it was described and portrayed, that it was like old school Netflix. Nowadays, it feels like Xbox is actively experimenting with everything they do, and they don't know exactly where to go or how to do things. And that's why, like, internally, allegedly, they were describing the Call of Duty inclusion on Game Pass as the Call of Duty experiment, that they were trying to see if this would work. And they were just like, let's see. And then it lost $300 million. And it's that kind of vibe that they're just trying stuff that I think reinforces the sentiment that Xbox is just kind of fledgling and floundering, which is why a story like this can go viral and is perceived as very, very believable. It's a problem. And I mean, you can see people already giving up, and well, we had a blast these last few generations. I'm going to miss Xbox. This is somebody who's a top 1% commenter on the Xbox subreddit, r/Xbox, top 1% commenter. And it's already like, well, it's dead. When your community morale is that low, you're losing. You got to get it under control. I mean, again, this is a $4 trillion company that has spent tens upon tens upon tens of billions of dollars on acquisitions, on overhauls, on games and releases, and morale is this low. Clearly there's a problem. Clearly. And I feel like the sort of gaslighting, no, everything's fine, everything's great, is not helping the issue either. It just isn't. It just isn't. And so there's clearly a messaging problem within Xbox, and they got to get it together. Netflix navigated it. They went through a period where everybody thought Netflix was going to die because they were having to cut shows and cancel shows and overhaul budgets and stuff to make it profitable again, when they were just throwing money at productions and licensing deals. And they were able to get over it and, find a balance, and they got out of it. And now Netflix is doing just fine. And I think Xbox could get there, but they've got to quell the concerns of their fan base, because Netflix is a different animal than Xbox Game Pass. Game Pass relies a lot more on like brand loyalty. It relies a lot more on reputation of the publisher and the studios, and therefore the games. Whereas Netflix, a lot of it was just like, oh, did you see K-pop Demon Hunters? It's really good. Oh yeah, I'll boot that up tonight. Like it's much less dependent on the reputation of the studios or the publisher or publishing house. It relies more on word of mouth. And so I think that Xbox has just got to get it together. Whoever's in charge of messaging needs to be replaced, because there's so much confusion. There's such a lack of clarity. It's frankly hilarious, but here we are. Here we are. Yeah. It's funny how some YouTubers fell for it without doing a little research, but I get Xbox is not a good place, so it's easy for clicks. Yeah, I mean, they see it, it passes the vibe check, and they run with it. And I think that, at least to me, the fact that it passes the vibe check of like, yeah, I totally would believe that, it's very believable. And that's what's really sad. Is that, again, for other companies or other competitors in the space, it would not be believable at all. But for Xbox, where they are right now, it is considered believable that they would be like cut out of Walmart and Target, which is crazy. but it's believable. And that's what's really sad. Well, Fredo, thank you for the 5. What do you think that are the conversations that go on between Phil, Sarah, Pete, and the rest of the leadership team right now? I mean, we got some of the emails that leaked during the FTC stuff where Phil was basically yelling at them through email about needing to hit the deadlines and targets that they set. He's like, we cannot have an entire year without releases. This is insane. If you tell me you're hitting this release window, you need to actually hit that release window. You can't miss it by a year or two. Or if we do hit the release window, it launches horribly like Redfall. We cannot do that. So I'm sure he's like pushing for profitability. He's pushing for release windows and a more steady stream of releases. But even having said that, like they front loaded this or like earlier this year, which now I think makes sense. Let me show you why. Let me show you what, because I was trying to think about this. Do you remember how earlier this year was weirdly loaded with Game Pass games? Like out of nowhere, they launched in a very tight window. They had Expedition 33 on it, which was tremendously successful. And I'm sure it did numbers on Game Pass as well. But they also had games like Doom. They had games like South of Midnight. They had the Oblivion remake remaster, which ended up being one of the biggest games of the year. And all of those games were launched kind of frantically before June or the end of June. And I thought it was weird because I was like, why aren't they staggering these games? Like, why are they releasing them all right now? And why aren't they like waiting until August, September, October to have some more releases? Some people think GTA 6, oh, Blueprints. Yeah, Blueprints as well. I think it's very, very simple. What's Microsoft's fiscal year? It runs from July 1st to June 30th. Their fiscal year ends June 30th. What do we know now? Call of Duty launching on Game Pass earlier in the fiscal year, so late last year, lost them $300 million. They needed to balance that out and increase the numbers as best they could to try and make it save face and look like less of a disaster compared to what it actually was. So they desperately shoved out everything they had at the very end of the fiscal year to make the numbers look better, to probably try and defend themselves when they had to report it to Satya and Amy Hood and everybody else. And be like, see, it wasn't actually that bad because we had these really successful games at the later end of the year, so Call of Duty's failure wasn't that bad. Please don't be angry. And now it means that they basically have nothing else for the rest of this year. And it seems like Satya and Amy Hood saw right through it and still demanded price hikes and everything else. So I think the rush of releases in the late spring of this year was specifically to try and counter the Call of Duty losses that they realized probably earlier this year were happening. So they just shoved everything out to try and increase the numbers where they could and make it look less and less terrible. I don't think it clearly worked. But I think that was their attempt to try and avoid what has happened. Otherwise, I think they would have had a very steady pace of releases. Maybe every like 45 days, they have a new Game Pass release, but instead they just tried to shove everything out early in the year. So anyway, that's what I think is happening with them. That's, I think, the reason that they handled it that way. But again, just the fact that there's so much miscommunication right now that something like this is considered very believable. All of that reflects a brand that is currently in serious trouble. Because people are giving up on it. And here's the deal. Here's the other deal. Part of the strategy, I think, with increasing the price of these consoles, I think part of the idea was that when GTA 6 launches and we have the rush of people going into brick and mortar stores, because a lot of the more casual gamers and consumers will do it that way. They'll go in and actually purchase the consoles in person. They're going to go in. And the idea was that if PlayStations are sold out, or if they haven't had a console since the 360 era or the Xbox One era, they will go into the store and see Xboxes on the shelves and buy one of those for $500, $600, $700, $800 and be like, oh yeah, I used to play on Xbox. I'll get one of those. Because there will be a lot of people getting back into gaming who have not gamed in a while, who like graduated high school and went into the workforce for 10 years, and now they're going to get back in with GTA 6. It's like a huge component and part of the projections. But that doesn't work if you don't have consoles stocked in stores because nobody wants to sell them because nobody's buying them. You know, it just doesn't work. And so I just think that there's so many assumptions being made by the executive suite that things will just continue to be fine or good enough until they're not. And then it's all going to crash and burn. So the next year is going to be very interesting. But again, it's just It's just really sad. One thing after another, Microsoft is forced to respond time and time again to ongoing rumors it's leaving the hardware space. Well, they've done very little to comfort people and make them think that this is a platform they should commit to, because the constant instability and layoffs, the cancellation of things, the lack of clear, cohesive vision for the future of the console space, it's just, this is what you're going to get. They were planning on their competition being sold out. I mean, I think that was a component of it. I really do. They would be the solid alternative if you couldn't find a PlayStation. But here we are. Prediction: there will be no next-gen Xbox console. No evidence in their actions suggests there will be. Well, there was this report from VGC. So we have information about the next-gen alleged processor, and it suggests a PC console hybrid. Moore's Law is Dead, who has a lot of very accurate posts on like AMD leaks and stuff, very high level technical stuff. As you can see, like they have like, I couldn't even begin to explain what I'm looking at here, but in broad strokes, what is being described is that the AMD Magnus APU, an APU combines CPU and GPU on a single chip, will be the largest one ever used in a games console, according to the YouTuber, who claims it will be 46% larger than the one allegedly planned for the PlayStation 6. The report claims that as a result of this, the next Xbox is likely to be more powerful than the PS6, but will naturally cost more money as a consequence of this. The reason for this is, according to MLID, is that as per previous speculation, Microsoft is reportedly positioning the next Xbox console to be a hybrid system capable of not only playing games on the Xbox Store, but also PC games on other stores. Quote, it should be stronger than the PlayStation 6, but at the same time, it will also be more expensive because of the larger size and its use of bridge dies, and likely a larger RAM capacity compared to the PlayStation 6, at least if it wants to work as well as a PC console hybrid. It doesn't know the clock speeds of it. However, even in extreme scenarios, I don't think it will be more than about a third faster than the PlayStation 6 console. Let's see, don't forget, even in extreme situation, the next gen Xbox, though probably faster, is probably less of a difference than even Xbox One X to PS4 Pro. So most true console gamers probably won't care if they're gaming on a big screen or on a couch. On average, I do expect Xbox Magnus to basically be a more premium version of the same performance that you would get from the PlayStation 6. For example, if a PlayStation 6 game was running at 4K 120 with ray tracing on, and of course it would also have FSR4 or something to get there, I would suspect the Magnus would, instead of doing 4K 120, do like 4K 144. Like, it could do 20% higher frame rates, which doesn't matter on a big screen TV really, but does matter if you're gaming on a monitor on your desk, which Magnus will be more meant for than the PlayStation. So this apparently is their vision for the next gen. Maybe it's just part of the vision. Maybe they will also have a bunch of other stuff going on, but this is probably like $1,000 console. And it's sort of meant to be a hybrid between your PC on your desk and the console on your media center. And it will play Steam games and everything else, which is cool. That's genuinely cool. Honestly, I was just looking at a party game earlier today, and I thought, oh, that looks really cool, but it's a Steam game. And so I was like, oh, this is a game I'd want to play on the couch with friends because it's like a couch co-op game. And I don't know how I would do that. I could lug a PC up there, or I could do the Steam Link thing, but that doesn't work super great. So it was a roadblock. But having something like this, where I could just play a Steam game on a box that gives the console convenience, but with Steam, that's cool. And so I think that could find some success, but it would not be your standard Xbox experience. And I think that's the key. Like, that's the key to understand. PlayStation's next generation, I think, will feel very much like this generation. It will be the big new box with a new controller design. You plug it in, you get the experience, new UI, good to go. The next Xbox, though, I think is going to feel kind of weird. It's going to be a mix of a bunch of different things. It's not going to feel totally like a console. It won't feel totally like a PC. It's just going to be kind of weird. Which will I buy? I mean, because of what I do, I kind of buy everything. I will say, if it's primarily, like at this point, I have a Series S somewhere. The fact I don't know where I put it is kind of telling, because you can tell I use it a lot. And then my Series X upstairs that's plugged into my big projector, I could not tell you the last time I booted it up, because there's just no reason. If you play games that are on everything, if I play an Xbox game, I'll play it on PC because it's also on PC and it runs better. But I have reason to play on PlayStation. So I played like my PlayStation last night with some Ghost of Yotei. Could not tell you the last time I booted up an Xbox. So it's not that I hate Xbox or anything. I just literally have no reason to play it if I have a PC. So if this next console is a hybrid of an Xbox and a PC, I'll just keep my PC. Like the one use case though, like I said, where I could see using it is in the case where I can like play Steam games seamlessly on my TV, which is funny that I'd be relying on like an Xbox product to get the Steam experience on that. But if Steam doesn't make it, what else am I going to do? If Steam made like a little box that's like the Steam console and it's just a pretty decently powerful PC, but plugged into your TV and it gives you the Steam whatever loadout, that would be really cool. I know I could build my own PC and do it. I might do that. But yeah, other than that, I think I wouldn't have much use for it.